after regards, I think with the administration of President Trump, maybe in a short mission, I guess, or I assume that he has previous negotiations with Putin, the president of Russia, in order to reach a conclusion how we can stop this war. It's almost more than 2.5 years. None of the American or the European countries are able to see on the future ground something can happen more than what happened now. Russia already succeeded to occupy four big, states within the Ukrainian land, and it's not going to be withdrawn under any circumstances. European for the last 2.5 years and NATO have suffered a lot politically, economically. There is inflation in Europe, and I think before the war of Ukraine and Russia, European Union has one unit of an opinion. Now with what happened, I think some of the European countries are really tired from what's happening. So I think maybe in the mind of the President of America, Donald Trump administration, is to make more influence for both sides. But I think his personal relation with the Russian president, plus his always talking about America cannot defend European with only 1% of the global income of each country. That's not enough. He is enforced to them that they have to pay more. They have to share the cost of defending their countries. So I think there is some kind of negotiation. We'll reach that this kind of war has no meaning and it has to stop with the help of America.
Ms. Olga, Russia has expressed a willingness to discuss peace with the Trump administration, but they mentioned there have been no specific proposals. What do you think Russia is waiting for from the United States before entering negotiations or starting negotiations?
Well, Russia is open to peace talks and since the beginning of this conflict. But we know in 2022 in Istanbul, so these agreements, they've been achieved, but they were not implemented. And Russia, of course, is open. And the conditions which Russia lays out, they're also known to everyone. So it's a neutral status for Ukraine, while it's about security for Russia. And in this case, so Russia would not expect, or maybe Russia doesn't wait any suggestions from the United States, because we understand it's our security and just only we are responsible for our security on this global perspective. But what we might expect from the United States, it's about to end this financial and military help to Ukraine, because without this, Ukraine definitely is not capable to fight, just to do anything. But we also need to understand that helping Ukraine, the United States has his own aim, and the aim it's about to contain Russia. And it's not just only Russia, it would be to contain in China, it would be to contain any other country to keep American hegemon position in the world. So and in this case, we need to look at this conflict as a part of American strategy to keep its hegemony. And in this case, maybe the war is considered by Donald Trump as just a useless mechanism and should be different, something done to contain Russia in this case. So, and yes, we might expect that America would change its position to Ukraine, but definitely would not change its position.
How can America change its position towards Ukraine?
Well, it's about to stop just wasting money and resources in this.
You mean stop being an ally of Ukraine like it used to be when the Biden administration was leading the United States?
Well, I would choose some words very carefully, because Ukraine is not an ally, because they don't have certain agreement, and Ukraine is not a NATO country, but they have some.
No, the United States was an ally of Ukraine.
Okay, so they have a strategic partnership, more definitely, but it's not the issue here. To my view, to my understanding, spending money for war, for this war conflict, maybe it is considered by Donald Trump as useless, and maybe different things should be used to contain Russia in this case. And maybe considering this position, the United States would stop supporting Ukraine financially, because it has no benefits by now, and we should would apply maybe some business deal or some business behavior in this context, and maybe something different will be done. And so we see American policy, Trump policy, it's about tariffs and everything, so just to get benefits, but the war does not give benefits.
And maybe Trump does not want any wars anymore, and it's not in the favor of Ukraine or Russia to get into a war or continue a third-year war.
Well, I do not believe that Donald Trump is caring about Russia or Ukraine. He cares about American interests, and something what we need to consider in the first place.
You said he cares about American interests?
I think Donald Trump, and he's very explicit in this, he's interested to promote American interests, and wasting money for Ukraine, it's not an American interest right away by now. So, and I believe that would be the reason why Donald Trump would stop financing Ukraine by now.
Oh, okay. Mr. Maharem, Trump mentioned that Zelensky is willing to make a peace deal. What are the challenges Ukraine faces in agreeing to such a deal, given the ongoing military situation, sir?
Well, I think the continuation of such, conflict is not in the welfare of the region, Europe or America, or even internationally. So, Trump administration, I think, as he mentioned in his first speech on Monday, 20th of January, he mentioned that in my upcoming 4 years in the office, White House, I will not encourage any war in the world, but my administration will help either to stop different wars taking place in the world or helping others to get rid of that. I think he is keeping an eye. He mentioned even before being in the White House as the new president, the 47th president of America, he said about the conflict between Hamas, Palestinian and Israel, it was successfully done 24 hours before he was in the office, and then he keeps his eye for the upcoming challenging that Europe is suffering, NATO is suffering, American also are not willing in the future to send all this assistance financially and weapons to Ukraine, and there is no result on the ground. Russia is still occupying those areas.
Mr. Maharem, you read it, and your narrative is that Donald Trump wants to end this war for the sake of the region, and of course, all the globe, all the countries all around want this war to end because of the region. But on the other side, Mrs. Olga thinks that, or said now, that Trump wants to end this war because of the interests of the United States, because of the money and financial aid that is given to Ukraine. How do you read this, sir?
I agree with that. He is a pure businessman, and he was so clear that America first. That means his own benefit of his own country. There is no doubt he mentioned that. But again, if the gas problem supply to Russia, from Russia to all European is a big issue, if the supply of different products, foodstuff, grain to the world has made a big difference in prices, and all the countries are suffering, especially third world countries, Africa, Middle East, Asia. I think if Mr. Trump is trying to help in ending this war, nothing wrong if it is going to be in the welfare of the American people as well.
Exactly, sir. I'll go back to Ms. Olga. Ms. Olga, Trump said on Tuesday he would likely impose sanctions on Russia if Vladimir Putin refuses to negotiate about ending the war. How would this threat impact the potential negotiations?
Well, I believe it's no threat for us at all, because Russia is the most sanctioned country now, and we see the impact on sanctions. We have certain impact, but the most important thing, so we are a resourceful country, and we have the sanctions back, or at least we adapted to the sanctions, and we built our own alternative.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you mean it wouldn't be worse?
No, it's not going to be worse. So definitely. So because the sanctions, it's not only the result of this conflict in Ukraine. It's the result of American policy to dominate the world, to sanction Russia, to have trade wars with China, to have tariffs against Canada or Mexico. So it's a part of this bigger picture. So sanctions against Russia, it's not just only because of Ukraine, not at all. It's just because to contain any other countries, it would be a competitor to the United States.
Okay, Mr. Maharem, Rubio mentioned that both Ukraine and Russia will have to make concessions for peace. What concessions do you think are realistic for both sides to make, especially given the current military and political realities, sir?
I think compromise, if we came back 2.5 years ago, what was the main reason that the battle started is European countries were trying to support Ukraine to be a new member in the NATO. That seems like will never happen, because if we look to the other side, does America will agree if Russia or China can come to the American neighbor in Mexico and make some
Mr.
kind of
Maharem, sorry to interrupt you. Is Donald Trump okay with the NATO alliance at this point as we talk?
Come again, please.
Is Donald Trump okay with the NATO as we talk?
I think he has to make a new strategy with the NATO. He would like them to pay a different kind of cost, and that's happened also for his first period. But with that kind of pressure, I think if he still remember and keep an eye that America first, but Europe, it's not going to be his usually strategy or historical allied as before. The way he is talking about seems like, I think, some kind of compromise has to come within the European countries, either to withdraw and make this battle end by all means, or will never happen that any kind of success or improving to the situation will happen to Ukraine. That's why I'm assuming President Putin will be happy and ready to make the negotiation at any time on the welfare of it's better to stop it now, better than to be delayed till tomorrow.
Okay, Ms. Olga, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio noted that the United States aims to ensure that the war does not restart in a few years. What steps do you believe Russia would need to take to ensure the conflict doesn't reignite after any potential peace agreement?
Well, it's not about Russia, who would not be interested in its own security. Well, it's about the United States and its position. And as Marco Rubio said, in the following years, so the war will be, at least will not be continued. So, and we can count just only these 4 years of American presidency of Donald Trump, because we also need to understand it's not just only the decision of one president. It is also certain limitations coming from Congress. And if we consider the Democratic Party is against this position of Donald Trump to Russia and to Ukraine, so we might expect that the next administration might change its position towards Russia, towards Ukraine. And maybe we can expect that in the following 4 years, America would be interested definitely not to help militarily Ukraine, because it's a wasting of money, but maybe after 4 years, the situation will be different. So we need to look at this maybe in a bigger picture of this American interest and how America perceives itself in the world.
Okay, Mr. Maharem, given the current state of the conflict and Russia's military positions, what role can the United States realistically play in mediating peace talks?
Well, peace talks, I think it will take more influence in not in the military, because military Russia for the last 2.5 years showing that there is different kind, at least 5 kind of new weapons shown on the battle, and that will make the negotiation between both sides very serious. America from the other side does not want to be involved in any war anymore. Economy and cost of the war will be the main element, I think, between all sides, because as a conclusion, how much money have been drawn from American economy to this kind of conflict for the last 2.5 years, plus the cost of weapons as well. And the result actually does not show that any development will happen from the side of Ukraine. So it must have a kind of deal to be immediate, find a solution tomorrow. It's better to have it now.
Ms. Olga, Putin's recent conversation with Xi Jinping shows strong coordination between Russia and China. How might this geopolitical alliance influence Russia's stance on peace talks with Ukraine at this point?
Well, I would not say that China is somehow involved in this conflict.
Well, it's not involved.
It is not involved. So we have a strategic partnership with China. So definitely we strengthen our economic ties, so we cooperate. But here is no direct involvement of China in this conflict, not at all. So and in this case, I would not say so. China somehow not just only involved, somehow has an impact on this conflict, not at all. Like I said, China is in a trade war, and it is competitor itself with the United States. And the United States has its own policy towards China to contain China as well. And given the relationship between Russia and China, and I believe our strategic partnership will be developed further. We are not military allies, but we have a strategic partnership, and it has no impact or no direct impact to this conflict in Ukraine. So it is something what we have and something what we develop.
Okay, Mr. Maharem, in light of Rubio's comments on the devastating impact on Ukraine's infrastructure and people, what role do you think the United States should play in rebuilding Ukraine post-conflict, and how can it support the country during the ongoing war, sir?
Well, I think from the administration point, Mr. President Trump would like to show a new phase and a new effort that America is supporting peace around the world and helping as well somehow, European countries to get rid of that conflict. Plus also it's very important with him as an American to have some kind of peaceful time between America, Russia and China from the other side. Trump would like to keep this area apart from the future, what will happen, but as much as he has a lot of internal issues within his country, and he would like to keep keep the other side of the expected troubles to happen in order that China and Russia will be in safe relationship with America for the future.
Perfect, sir. Mr. Maharem, the Kyiv Independent reported that Trump previously promised to end the war quickly, which this happened during his campaign when he said in 24 hours he's going to end this war. Of course, his team now recognized the complexity of the conflict, and Trump or the team gave 100 days to end this war. How do you read this, sir, in your narrative?
Well, he said so for both the conflict between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He did really a big, influence and pressure to Benjamin Netanyahu, and for different reasons, it was a successful achievement 24 hours before he was in office. But again, the same scenario can be that quick with the ongoing, trouble and battle for the last 2.5 years. It is not going to be that fast. But I think he is capable with some time, with some negotiation to do it, but not
100 days, sir, or 24 hours?
Not 24 hours. It could be 24 days. It takes time.
Okay, yeah, that was... okay. That was Mr. Ahmed Maharem, writer and political analyst, and Olga Krasniak, professor of international relations from Russia. Thank you very much for your valuable and informative insights.